Fallen is the debut studio album by American rock band Evanescence. It was released on March 4, 2003, through Wind Up Records and Epic Records. The album was recorded in multiple recording studios, including Conway Recording Studios in Hollywood, California. It is commercially the band's most successful album to date, selling more than 7 million copies in the United States alone, and more than 17 million worldwide. It debuted at number 7 on the Billboard 200, selling more than 141,000 copies within its first week, eventually peaking at number 3 in June 2003. Internationally, it topped the charts in more than 10 countries. It was certified platinum 7 times by the Recording Industry Association of America, and acquired multiple certifications worldwide. Upon its release, Fallen received mixed to positive reviews from music critics. It spawned 4 singles, Bring Me to Life, My Immortal, Going Under, and Everybody's Fool. Bring Me to Life and My Immortal peaked within the charts of more than 10 countries, including Australia, the United Kingdom, and the United States. The album earned the band 5 nominations at the 46th Grammy Awards, Album of the Year, Best Rock Album, Best Rock Song, Best Hard Rock Performance and Grammy Award for Best New Artist, winning Best New Artist and Best Hard Rock Performance. Background and recording: after Evanescence was formed by Amy Lee and Ben Moody in 1995, the band released 3 extended plays and 1 demo CD, and in January 2001 they signed with their first major label, Wind Up. The writing process for the album took a period of 8 years. During an interview with MTV, Ben Moody revealed that he never wrote together with Lee, adding, "Maybe 2 or 3 times in 8 years did we actually sit down and write together in the same room." The album was recorded at Track Record Incorporated and NRG Recording Studios, Ocean Studios, Conway Recording Studios, all in California. Different tracks were recorded as demos before the album's recording sessions, while My Immortal, Imaginary, and Whisper appeared on the band's earlier material. The album was recorded and mixed between late August and early December, 2002. Recording work for Fallen started at Ocean Studios in Burbank, California, where most of Bring Me to Life was recorded for the Daredevil soundtrack, prior to full album production. For that song, Jay Baumgartner used to mix at his studio, NRG Recording Studios in North Hollywood, Los Angeles. On an SSL 9000J, drum tracks were recorded at Ocean Studios, with Josh Freese playing to click tracks, containing stereo guitars and vocals on selected songs. On the rest of the drums, Fortman said that he used a D112 on the inside of the kick drum, a U47 on the outside, a nanosecond-10 speaker as an outside mic. The producer ran 414s on the ride cymbal and hi-hat. He recorded the drums onto 2-inch tape on a Studder machine and then bounced the parts into Pro Tools. The guitars for the album were cut at Mad Dog Studios, Burbank, California in an old Mesa Boogie cabinet. Lee's vocals, pianos and background vocal by the Millennium Choir were recorded in NRG Recording Studios. The orchestra parts were arranged by David Hodges and David Campbell, except in My Immortal, which was done by composer Graham Revell. The mixing for the album took a period of 2 weeks at Conway Recording Studios in North Hollywood, while the album was mastered by Ted Jensen at Sterling Sound in New York City. Composition, songs and lyrics. According to Amy Lee, Going Under is about a previous emotionally and physically damaging relationship, saying, "And when you're at the end of your rope, when you're at the point where you realize something has to change, that you can't go on living in the situation that you're in. It's cool. It's a very strong song." It was the last song written for the album, and was originally intended to be the first single. However, Bring Me to Life was chosen due to its release as the lead single on the Daredevil soundtrack. It was released as the second single. Bring Me to Life is a rock, alternative metal, chamber pop and gothic metal song set in a common time and performed in a moderate tempo of 96 beats per minute. It was written by Lee, Ben Moody, and David Hodges, and was inspired by an incident that occurred while she was sitting at a restaurant when an acquaintance of Lee asked her if she was happy in her current relationship. It was then that Lee realized that she was, in fact, unhappy in her current relationship and expressed that she felt she had been woken up, hence the lyrics "Wake Me Up Inside." Lee also confirmed that it was about longtime friend Josh Hartzler, whom she married in 2007. Everybody's Fool was written by Lee, Moody, and Hodges, and is about celebrities who have completely false images. In an interview with VH1, Lee stated, "My little sister was really getting into these, I don't want to offend anyone, but like really fake, cheesy, slutty female cracker box idols, and it really pissed me off. She started dressing like them and she was like 8 years old. So I gave her the talk and I wrote a song. My Immortal is a piano rock ballad, and was written by Moody while the bridge was added by Lee during later recordings, and is based on a short story written by Moody himself." Moody also stated in the album's booklet that he dedicated it to his grandfather, Bill Holcomb. Haunted is also based on a short story written by Moody, which was posted onto the band's EV boards. Tourniquet was originally written for Christian metal band Soul Embraced, which included former band member Rocky Gray before he joined Evanescence. Reception. Critical response. Fallen has received generally mixed to positive reviews from music critics. Johnny Loftus of Allmusic scored the album 3.5 stars out of 5, saying, "The album does include flashes of the single's PG-rated nu metal. But it's the symphonic goth rock of groups like Type O Negative that influences most of Fallen." Entertainment Weekly also gave a generally positive review, scoring the album a B, saying, "The genre now too old to be called now one-quarter metal isn't exactly overflowing with spine-tinglingly great vocalists, let alone female ones." Amy Lee, lead singer of gloomy Arkansas rockers Evanescence, is an exception. Kirk Miller of Rolling Stone gave a more mixed review, scoring the album 3 out of 5 stars, saying, "When vocalist Amy Lee croons about lying in my field of paper flowers or pouring crimson regret, she gives Fallen a creepy spiritual tinge that the nu metal boys lack." Adrian Begrand of Pop Matters was negative about the album, saying that it's basically as unoriginal and dumb as everything else in its genre. It has a small handful of transcendent moments, but a complete lack of musical adventurousness has the band mucking around either in stultifying nu metal riffage, pretentious high school journal caterwauling, or even worse, both. However, he praised Lee's soaring, enchanting, and angelic voice, saying that Evanescence would be nothing without her. Billboard Euro's Krista Titus called Fallen a highly polished, hook-filled affair. Melissa Mertz of Spin magazine graded the album with 4 out of 5 stars, saying nu metal gets a powdering of Andrew Lloyd Webber theatrics as Lee aces her piano A levels, adds a string section, and tackles capital letter issues, God, love, and death, with the grandeur they deserve. Commercial performance. Fallen was a commercial success, selling more than 17 million copies worldwide since its release in 2003. On the Billboard 200, the album debuted at number 7 with more than 141,000 copies sold in its first week. In the United States, it has sold more than 7.6 million copies. Fallen was the 8th best-selling album of 2004 and the 19th best-selling album of the 2000s. As of October 2011, it has spent 106 weeks on the Billboard 200, with 58 weeks in the top 20. It peaked at number 3 on the Billboard 200 on June 14, 2003, and re-entered the chart at number 192 on March 13, 2010. It spent over 223 weeks on the top pop catalog chart after falling out of the Billboard 200. The Recording Industry Association of America certified it platinum in April 2003, and by June 2008 it had reached 7 times platinum. On the UK Albums Chart, Fallen debuted at number 18 selling 15,589 copies. It reached number 1 with 38,570 copies 7 weeks later, after Bring Me to Life topped the UK Singles Chart. However, it sold more than 56,193 copies in December 2003, which became its highest week of sales, although it was at number 28 the same week. It later spent 33 weeks within the top 20, and 60 weeks within the top 75. The album re-entered the UK charts at number 35 following the week of the release of the band's second studio album, The Open Door. As of October 2011, the album has sold more than 1,367,900 copies in the United Kingdom. It was also an international success, topping the charts in more than 10 countries while charting within the top 10 of more than 20 countries worldwide. After spending over 3 months in the top 10 on the Canadian Albums Chart, the album peaked at number 1 on August 13, 2003, selling 8,900 copies according to figures compiled by Nielsen SoundScan. Christian controversy: Evanescence was originally promoted in Christian stores. Later, the band made it clear they did not want to be considered part of the Christian rock genre, like fellow Wind Up Records artists Creed. In April 2003, Wind Up Records chairman, Alan Meltzer, sent a letter to Christian radio and retail outlets to explain that despite the spiritual underpinning that ignited interest and excitement in the Christian religious community, Evanescence are a secular band, and as such view their music as entertainment. Therefore, he wrote, Wind Up strongly feels that they no longer belong in Christian markets. Almost immediately upon receipt of the letter, many Christian radio stations pulled fallen songs from their playlists. Terry Hemmings, CEO of Christian music distributor Provident, expressed puzzlement at the band's about-face, saying they clearly understood the album would be sold in these Christian music channels. In 2006, Amy Lee told Billboard that she had opposed being identified as a Christian band from the beginning. She further added, "Can we please skip the Christian thing? I'm so over it. It's the lamest thing. I fought that from the beginning. I never wanted to be associated with it. It was a Ben thing. It's over. It's a new day." Track listing, personnel, credits are taken from AllMusic, and Folina Eurosha liner notes. Charts, certifications, release history, references. External links, official website, Fallen at Discogs, lyrics from this album at Metro Lyrics.